Welcome to the Smoking Word. Welcome to the Smoking Word.
What's up, everybody? Once again, it's on. The Smoking Word podcast is back and always brought to you by, you know, the motherfucking drill, CasaDeRock.com. If you want to support the show, go cop some merch. We got a lot of new things dropping. We just dropped the New York Hardcore Drip Slides designed by my brother, the one and only MQ1. And we also dropped a very, very, very limited pin for all you punk rockers and all you pin collectors. A very limited pin collection we dropped with a NYHC, a Hoya Rock, a Hoya, and a MQ1 pin. Get them while you can, because very, very limited. But shout out to Culture, and shout out to my bro Dreff out there. MQ, you know what's up. And again, the Smoking Word is brought to you by CasaDeRock.com. And everybody in Europe, my brothers and sisters around the globe, you know I never forget about you. And for the merch, anything I cannot do, my brother Theo will handle that business. CasaDeRock.eu for international shipping. I don't do international from CasaDeRock.com because the shipping fees are off the hook, and I don't want to rob my family out there. So everybody, CasaDeRock.com, everything US, CasaDeRock.eu for everything around the motherfucking planet. All t-shirts, $21. Show support. And listen, and a shout out to my Patreon family for holding me down. I took a couple of weeks off. As you all know, I had to take care of some business. Shout out to my brother, Dave. We motherfucking out here. But thank God to everybody out there holding me down, still shooting me mad love. All my patrons for holding me down throughout the little vacation. But if you want to support the show, patreon.com/the Smoking Word. That's how you invest in this show. If you like what you hear and you want it to keep going, and I want you to also, you got to make sure you go to YouTube right now. You got to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're about to flip that shit. We're about to take YouTube. We're about to rip YouTube a new a-hole. But you got to look at Patreon. Back to the Patreon. Hold on. Patreon. Support the show. There's 4 tiers. There's a $2 tier, $5 tier. Everybody got $2 right now in their motherfucking pocket. Everything goes into the show to make all this dope graphics and all this other shit happen. But everybody who's already got down with the program, shout out, mad love to you guys and girls. And everybody, even if you ain't a patron, if you're supporting the show, make sure you subscribe. It's free to subscribe, and it's free to repost, and it's free to leave a comment. So there you go, you cheap bastards. I gave you a little early Christmas Hanukkah gift right there. But also follow me, Hoya Rock 357 on Instagram, and the Smoking Word podcast on Instagram, and go to our YouTube channel, Smoking Word TV right now. Make sure you subscribe. We about to flip the script, and we about to get real ill with it. So stay tuned for a lot of new content about to drop. I also want to mad shout out my brother Warren and Kai from Richard Straps. Let me tell you, everybody out there, not just because I got my brother working for them and not because they're down with the Madball family right now, but I got the flyest bass strap in the game right now, and they're made by Richard Straps. Leather, sorry to all you vegans out there. This one happens to be leather, but they also got the pleather and the vegan versions. But definitely mad comfortable. And let me tell you, for 25 years, 24 or 5 years or some shit like that, I would play with a fucking a sneaker string and not give a fuck. But not till I played with a real strap, I realized how important it is. And these shits are mad comfortable. So, but shout out to my brother Warren, and shout out to Kai for joining the fucking Madball family. Shout out to the hella hot sauce for just keeping me supplied with gallons of that hot sauce. And a big motherfucking shout out to the Cali Care Group. Go check them out, CaliCareGroup.com. They will keep you medicated and keep you flying straight And they also keep the movement moving in the right direction. So shout out to everybody holding us down out there. I want to shout out Matt Bombach. I want to shout out Barbara Roseberg. I want to shout out everybody around the planet supporting the Smokin Word podcast. You got to subscribe and repost. With that being said, my guest today, a motherfucking OG, and I'm glad I got him, even though he only works fucking vampire hours. My boy, New York's finest, Jimmy Williams from Maximum Penalty. Let's set this shit off. I was about to start freestyling until you jumped, motherfucking. I was like, what kind of sound, man? The button twist. But you got it.
Dog, listen, man. I'm an old man. You know, the Zoom shit is a little...
I know.
You dig me?
Technology.
Yo, you looking good, brethren.
Listen, I'm trying and trying and trying. That's all I do nowadays. You succeeded, brother.
You succeeded. You damn sure did.
Listen, I'm glad I got you. I know you work the fucking the graveyard shift, fucking nighttime, the vampire hours.
All the time, baby. All the time. Oh, we live?
Yeah, we going. We rocking right now.
Oh, word. That's what's up.
Yeah, now I want to get the momentum. You know, we have momentums. So
I'm feeling that.
What's up with you?
Can you hear me well? Can you hear me well?
Everything is good now. I see you. There you go.
Blessings.
Hell yeah.
Yo, dude,
I've been wanting to get you for a while too.
You know what, man? Like I texted with you earlier. You know, we've known each other for a better part of damn near 3 decades, right?
Yeah.
You know, since we were kids, right? Like 15, 16 years old, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you a funny little story later about that, but yeah.
You know, it's we don't talk as much as we used to, but you're still my brethren.
You know what I'm
saying? And I wanted to say, you know, just I don't want to start off the interview in a somber note, but I wanted to, you know, big up your brother.
Thank you.
Godspeed to your family.
Thank you. You know, I know. Yeah, hell yeah.
And it's a tragic loss.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's fucking life's fucking crazy. And yeah, you know, it's crazy life, man. You never know what the fuck's gonna happen, you know. But one thing I know, like I said, you know, I had, you know, you have those, you know, it's a lot at once. But I'm the type of dude that I take, you know, when my people hurt, I take that for them. And I know one thing for sure. My moms and my brother will not rest in peace if this shit folded me. So I can't let that shit fold me. So we rocking. So that's why we rocking. And I know they'll say, yo, get back on your shit. So that's why I'm back on my shit with fucking Jimmy Maximum motherfucker Penalty in the motherfucker building.
Thank you.
But,
thank you, sir.
But yeah, what you been up to? What you been up to? Like, I mean, we, you know, once in a blue, I'll hit you up. And obviously everybody's been home or wherever they've been doing the last 12, whatever fucking months, 15 months. I don't even know. It
seems like it's been forever, right? It seems like it's been like damn near 2 years.
Yeah.
What have I been doing? I've been creating a lot of music, you know. You know, I work outside of hardcore as well, as you know. You know, I do a lot of dance music, and I'm actually, you know, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm about to blow it up anyway. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm working with Dean, and we're working on the new Super Touch record.
Oh, hell yeah. There you go. We want that exclusive shit. You heard it
Word.
here. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
That's
dope. Rock.
Yeah.
You know
that's dope. And how did that fall into to play? It's funny. I hit up Mark not too long ago. You know,
me and Mark have always been like those dudes that, like, you know, I'm just trying to straighten you out, make sure I look all right. I'm good.
Yeah,
Mark has, you know, we've always had like this sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like mutual respect for each other as frontmen. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing is that he came to me and I was totally like, you know, I remember listening to Super Touch when I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? And Mark stepped to me, he's like, yo, you know, I really like what you do with Maximum Penalty, and I've always respected you as a singer. And, you know, I'd like to work with you. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. Then Dean got at me, and it's a work in progress, and it's gonna be a banger, man. I'm proud to be a part of the project, and I feel blessed that these cats even reached out to me on that tip. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people don't know this or may not know, and what are you doing exactly? Because you do everything. People also don't know, you sing, you play drums, you fucking record, that you do all that shit. So, well, what's your involvement this time around?
In this project, I'm probably, like, I would say I'm a vocal producer.
That's what I was about to say. Producing. There you go.
I'm producing. Dean is Dean is a genius. I mean, like, that dude has sonic integrity beyond the hardcore scene. You've worked with cats that, like,
yeah, I know you mean.
Do other shit. You dig what I'm saying? And it only brings color to what we do.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So they hit me up and they're like, yo, we know that you're really a good vocal producer. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or any of that shit, but I kind of, like, I can kind of hear where someone's coming from vocally.
Yeah.
And work within their abilities, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's a good producer. That's
what a producer's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to
put
my shit on him. I'm supposed to work within his.
Exactly.
ability.
You're supposed to be the steroids for him. That's what I tell people. Like, I ain't supposed to be you. You're supposed to be my steroid and bump me and make that,
Absolutely. And, they stepped to me and they're like, we know you're a good vocal producer. And they heard some of the things that I've done outside of, MP and, all the other bands that I've worked with. And they asked me to join. So I was like, join in on a production tip. And I was totally flattered,
that's dope. You know what always bugged me out about Mark, man? Because we used to chill a lot, at the clubs or whatever, man. And
he was working the door, right?
And he would work or wherever. But he would also, like, just even we pop up at the bar, whatever. And he always had the swag or whatever. I never realized till way later how old school he was. Dude,
a lot of people don't know that.
I know that they don't know that motherfucker was around like earlier. I'm like, yo, dude, that's and he don't look it, and he didn't, he already had a swag, like, of course, but it's so funny. I never took it. I found that history of him later. I'm like, oh shit, wow, all right, the Death Before Dishonor, and then I'm like, but wow, he was
wow, you brought it back, son.
Yeah, and then you hear about I'm like old stories with Stigma and whatever, and then you hear Mark, and I'm like, yo, it's crazy to even hear him in that little mix because we're thinking Squats and Stigmas and those dudes, and you forget, like, there's those guys too around, and
absolutely, like I feel like I started fucking with Mark when I was playing drums in Nausea.
Okay,
what I'm saying, like.
But okay, hold on. Let's rewind because this is the whole. I want to go back right now because I want to go through this before we even hit that because I completely fucking forgot about that, and I completely and now I remember. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? I completely forgot about that. First of all, Jimmy Williams is born where?
Lower East Side of Manhattan, Allen Street, Allen Boys all the way.
So you know what? I always thought you were Brooklyn.
Nah, dude.
Good. You
Allen Boys.
Yeah.
189 Allen Street forever.
And then you came up that all right. So because you were always downtown. I know you always downtown.
Yeah,
like, I know
that was what it was. Like I came above Houston Street and started fucking with John Jesse and a lot of like the Squatter cats. Because I was fortunate, man. Like, I had a father. A lot of us, Latinos and Blacks, we don't have fathers. And my pops was a jazz musician.
All right, then. Yep. Hold on. Let's stop there because to you it's not.
Stopping.
But to these other, we got to let motherfuckers know. And especially with you because, you always were low key and stood low. But your band's important in this whole scheme of things. And people don't know, you're mysterious without trying to be mysterious. It's just because you do your thing. You know what I mean? I'm
not doing it for me.
Exactly. But I know that, but it's mad interesting. And it's a band that, and it's good because you didn't run the band's name just through the years. You could tell it was always something you loved and it was always done. Everybody involved with the projects you done was taken seriously and you guys didn't just do it to do it. You could tell. and you know,
Thank you.
you know,
Thank
even
you.
with you know, you know, you're like low with it and whatever, and it keeps the property value of the band up, because there's bands that could run it
That's a
through the
good way of
ground,
putting it. Actually, that's
you
what's
know,
up.
but
That's what's up.
but yeah. So all right, you Jazz, let people know that beginning and when, okay, because you know why I wanted people to know your ethnicity, because when one of my first shows, and I don't remember exactly, it might have been my first or second, and it was Maximum Penalty, but it
Really?
but it was like Rest in Pieces, and you were on it. You guys were on it. But
That's
I
what's
remember
up.
this. It was one of the two, and why I bugged out, because I was like, first of all, I go, oh shit, this nigga's Spanish, or he might be black, but nah. And I go, and they got a girl playing bass. Yo, that's crazy.
Millie, man, Millie.
Yeah. And
Millie.
I fucking and the thing was, when I've seen girl bass players before that, but it was always more the old school, you know, whatever. You guys were already the New York hardcore shit, you know, the shit
Absolutely.
we do. Like, it was already
Absolutely.
that, well, you know, the more swaggy shit. And I remember her with a hat, and I remember she even played on the left side, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I remember
Yeah.
bugging out, like, and I was like, oh shit, yo, all right, you know, and I was like, you know, and then we ended up meeting around that time anyway. But I remember,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
early on.
I mean,
but
continue, please. I didn't mean to.
no, but yeah, no, but I tell you, but like, yeah, so you know, you're born downtown. Who's your family? That's you got some interesting people. You're you know, in your DNA.
All right, I'll break it down right quick.
Yeah.
My father's from Trinidad. You know, my mother's Puerto Rican Sicilian. You know what I mean? So my parents were about 35 years apart. My father was born in 1916.
Whoa, that's geez.
So he had me when he was 62 years old. My parents were like 30 some odd years apart.
He was potent.
Oh, dude,
Jesus,
Caribbean motherfuckers.
I know.
Fuck.
That
Caribbean motherfuckers fuck. You know, they fuck until they drop dead.
Fertile, man. Fertile.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. You know, so my old man played jazz. So he was born in Trinidad. He came to the South, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. This is pre-Jim Crow.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so cats were going up north to escape slavery. You know what I mean? Because it was more tolerated being a man of color up north than it was obviously below the Mason-Dixon line. You know what I mean? So he went up north. My grandfather, who was the one from Trinidad, he died of pneumonia, believe it or not. I mean, this is when people were dying of pneumonia.
Yeah.
My grandmother on my father's side is from Sudan, from Africa. Wow, so she was born in Khartoum, in the major city of Sudan. And she's not Sudanese Arab, she's Sudanese African. So they met during like around the First World War. And, you know, they had my uncle and my father, my two uncles and my father and my aunt. And, you know, the family was kind of weird. Like, you know, my grandfather was a tailor, and my uncle Pinky and my father Skip, they started playing jazz, and they went up north to Cleveland, and they both started playing with the Basie Orchestra when they were 15.
Yep. That's insane. And first of all, what exactly your pops played?
My father was a tenor sax player. My uncle was a baritone sax player.
First of all, that's already hard. It wasn't just, you know, when you play sax, you get an ass. You know, you know, you know, back then, people don't understand. Back then, that was before diamonds, and before, you know, credit cards or whatever it is that, you know, Gucci bags. You took the sax out, it was on. You know, that was that fly shit. And at 15,
yeah, they went out with Basie for 2 years. So it's 1960. I would say in the early mid-20s, they started blowing with Basie. And Basie was still a kid. Basie himself was only like, you know, Basie was probably, I want to say, maybe 7 to 10 years my father's elder.
Yeah.
So, you know, they got hooked up. And back then, you know, like, they didn't have all the restrictions of oh, you got to show ID at the bar.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? First of all, there was a bunch of black musicians on a bus. They had a white bus driver because they couldn't even go in and get fucking, stop at the gas station and get lunch.
Great.
You know what I mean? And it was a precarious kind of time. And so my old man and my father played with Basie. My uncle and my father played with Basie.
Yeah.
My uncle went to go play with Ray Charles.
Ew, that's
on
crazy.
Some rock shit. You know what I mean? On some early rock shit. Like his name was Pinky Williams.
That's
and he's
insane.
also the original baritone player of Porky and Bess, which is a, historic piece of, orchestration. And my father went towards the big band thing. So he got hired by Ellington.
Jesus,
at 17 years old.
That's like, that's like, say, oh, Mozart was my homeroom teacher. This other, Tchaikovsky or whoever was
you
my
so
sign.
much for it.
That's fucking
that,
crazy.
Man.
That's fucking insane.
So he went to play with Ellington, and he played with Ellington, and then my dad was like, yo, I gotta start making money, because in those days those cats got like, they got like $15 a week.
It's like a hardcore band. I totally understand. They were a hardcore band back then.
They had 2 suits, a couple of different shirts, maybe 2 pairs of kicks. They go in the hotel room, wash that shit by hand, hang it up. You know what I mean? And if they had a hotel room, in general, it was a hard time back then gigging. You had to do it because you loved it. And so he went out, and then he was like, I got to start making money on like really start getting some paper. So he started playing rock and roll, which before it was referred to as rock and roll. You know what I mean? And he went on to play with Bill Haley. Wow. My father. And Shake, Rattle, and Roll, Rock Around the Clock.
Insane.
Tenor sax, that's my pops.
So like, Rock Around the Clock, some people consider that like the first, like almost like, that's probably almost the first hardcore, like a metal or hard song. Because,
absolutely.
When that shit dropped in the UK.
That was punk rock. That's
what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. When that shit dropped in the UK, everybody started fighting. I heard a story when he played, all the Grease dudes, whoever started fucking killing each other. And I was like, yo, that's fucking hard.
Yeah. Like those dudes really put forth, and you're also talking about like, Bill Haley was a little wackadoo. Yeah. You know what I mean? He had some, how can I put this nicely? Ancestral things with his family. Yes. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. And he was also a white cat from the South. He wasn't super racist, but there's always a backline of that. There's always like a back, like a how would I say, a color in the painting. Yeah. There's always a little racism, especially if you're Anglo and you come from the South. And that's not even and it's not even something that is inherent. Like when you're born, it's something that's taught. And these kids, back then they didn't even know.
Of course, being racist. It's just how it was.
You know what I mean? It's just how it was.
It's just how it was. Yeah. It's just when you every neighborhood got its own rules. You know what I mean? It's the same way, and you grow up in that. You grow up, you don't know no difference.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. And especially back then, there's no internet. Everybody, people got to remember that when you see these old people now, and people are trying to hold some of these old people for some certain things. I'm like, you got to remember the age they come, the era they come from,
the era, and like the also the restrictions.
Yeah,
people don't realize like jazz in its essence. Obviously, if we want to break it down on some real education shit, music comes from Africa. It comes from rhythm. We all know that. I'm not trying to school anybody on that. I'm not trying to be all righteous on that shit, but more importantly, jazz music comes from Harlem.
Yeah.
Harlem. And the South. Dixieland.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And New Orleans. And these cats started moving up north because they were getting alienated down south. So they went up north to Harlem. And if you look at the movie Malcolm X, for instance, with Denzel, that's a very pinnacle part of American music. Because jazz was created, swing, Chick Webb, these guys were orchestras,
Yeah.
They were all readers.
Yeah.
You know, they these guys were educated motherfuckers in terms of their instruments.
Yeah.
Because that's what you had to be in order to work.
Yeah.
You know, a motherfucker had to put a chart down in front of you.
Yeah.
And you couldn't like no, you just gotta read and pray. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
That's
For
the way
sure.
it was.
My favorite show is that Motown shit. And that's my all-time favorite documentaries, Standing in the Shadows of Motown. And they're all talking, they're all like, oh, we all jazz cats, but they were like, yo, you want to make money? Cut that out, play that 2 times, just repeat it and play. And they were writing songs. They were like, yo, whatever.
That was what became pop rock and roll music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so he started doing that in the early mid 50s. And then Bebop came along. And for those of you who are not hip to what Bebop is, it was like more of an experimental kind of, because back then cats would compose a piece of music, right? Like take the A Train, for instance. Dun, 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 dun. And everybody would do their own take on Ellington's Take the A Train.
Yeah.
So you had all the big jazz orchestral cats, they would do their own like sort of version of it.
Yeah.
You had standard songs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yep.
The real
That's how it worked back then. Yeah.
That's how it worked. You know, you played standard songs and the cats would come up and blow their section for their solo. And that's what stood it apart from other cats doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So then Benny Goodman had started an all-white orchestra, right? In the early mid 50s. No, excuse me. Late 40s, early 50s. And he had taken this all-white orchestra across the country because jazz was an East Coast thing. He had exposed it to the West Coast kids. And that's when it was on.
Yeah.
That's
I never even thought about I never
Benny Goodman,
jazz,
man.
But also jazz with West Coast. I never also thought of it that way. It was always East Coast.
It was an East Coast, Southern, New York, South, cats escaping, talented cats coming up north to shine with their talent. Yeah. And they all formed in Harlem and in Chicago too. A lot of bad motherfuckers came from Chicago. Obviously, you know the deal. Yeah. And my father was in that, Yeah. And I was very fortunate because, like I told you earlier, I had a father. He stuck around, even though my parents hated each other's guts.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works.
That's how it works. You know how it is, Papo. And so he had started playing bebop, and the bebop cats started fucking with the powder. Like they started fucking with the heroin, and all that shit, like in the early 50s, 60s. And my dad was a swing cat. Those motherfuckers were drinkers, and they smoked reefer. Like my pops could polish off a fucking gallon of vodka, and motherfucking drive a car. Oh yeah. I'm not proud of that. I'm not saying that to be.
It was the era.
They didn't fuck with like narcotics.
Exactly.
It was reefer. You know what I'm saying?
And the booze.
And the booze. Word. So he started playing bebop up at a place called Birdland in the 50s.
That's not a party.
Miles. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you look up my pops on Wikipedia, he gave Thelonious Monk, was 16 and started playing with my father. And my father gave him his start, like playing swing orchestral shit, but in a bop style, free. Because bop was free jazz. It wasn't fusion like in the 70s and all that shit. But like it was more like it was the tunes, but cats could like take it to another place. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they had eye contact. I'm like, yo, we're gonna bounce it up an octave. Let's see where it goes. Yeah. And my dad gave Thelonious his start when he was 16. And
was he playing horn in the house always?
Oh, dude, listen, man. I got stories, man. Like my father, Latinos, like we celebrate Christmas Eve.
Yes.
Caribbean people in general, Christmas Eve is,
yeah.
You know
That's
what I
the
mean?
day. That's
So
all. Yeah.
that's the thing. That's what we do. And we used to have jam sessions, man. All kinds of motherfuckers would come through my house.
That's dope. During the celebrate is dope when you go, that's the turn up is cool when you got people that could play. You know what I mean?
We had a big Hammond organ in my house.
Oh,
and Wild Bill
shit.
Davis would come through, and Stash Evans, and
Crazy.
dude, like literally Orson Welles came to my house. He was a friend of my pops. He knocked on the door. I'm like, Dad, this is big white man at the door. He's like, you must be Little Skip. And he had this big chocolate pretty motherfucker behind him. And he's like, tell your father Mr. Wells is here. Now, I grew up in the projects. So the party would lead out into the hallway.
Yep, that's how it works.
And the whole fucking 2 floors.
Yeah, everybody.
I grew up in 10D, 11th floor. The whole project, they just party. Because the cops didn't fucking care. They were more worried about, motherfuckers selling crack and, like shooting each other and all that shit in the 70s and 80s. And like, there was some pretty, like, really historical entertainers that came through my house when I was a child. I didn't even realize it.
Exactly. It's
I was insane. Too young.
But that's even better because, it's just great that it's like that. Like, you hear these stories, of certain people being around that as a young age. They're like, I didn't know this dude, but this dude happened to be so and so. And and being around it, it's dope because you ended up working with music. So, at least some of that juju that was on you came into play. You know what I mean? You were able to like touch base later on, connect dots with people like, oh yeah, that I know. Oh, that dude was in my house. Oh yeah, I know about that. Just from being around it. Like, absolutely. I never knew I was gonna be in a band. And my father always was singing, and he sang not professionally, but he's a good singer when he gets drunk at the bar. But I was always around music. I was always around, okay, these guys, what sounds
good, what's not. That's what it is with Latin and Caribbean people, man. Like, that's in our blood. That's in our DNA. Africans, like we that's what we feel, and not to take it. I'm not trying to be a racist when I say that.
No, of course.
People inherently, if they tap into their heartbeats, everybody can be musical. They just need to find it within themselves.
Absolutely. And it's like, and I tell people too, when we say that, of course, not on some racist shit. I was like, we play in the hardcore bands. The shit's mostly white people. If we were like some type of racist, it's funny. I do the disclaimer too, but I'm like, dude, you should know this one's yours. But with our shit, what's great that what I love about what you said about before, and there's something that I always knew is one of my personal influences, and that I'm glad was the flavor that got brought into hardcore, and that was brought by a lot of certain bands, and that swing came from the South back in the day, one way or another. That I tell people, I go, I like Madball. When I joined Madball, Madball was originally like a lot of real old school fast, which I love. But when I joined Madball, I like the crossover groove metal shit and that.
I
was like, how could I put groove in that without making it a metal band? But
you were doing it with the Mize, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You was doing that with the Mize. You know what I mean? Like
the groove shit. And then I was like, I wanted to do that, but it was always, I liked the idea, and I talk about it with Craig a lot, Satari, like that concrete swamp that that groove. It's like that swamp from down south, but we come from the city, but we got that big swing, you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
I love that, and that comes from the south, and that's the influence that came up, and then we mixed it. We may have got some of it through, obviously we listen to a lot of old funk and that type, but also the hip hop, the hip hop.
Also listen, let me I'm not to cut you off, but also like Latin, bachata, salsa, merengue.
Listen, absolutely.
Like here, I mentioned this on Sid's show. I've been blessed to be interviewed by you and Sid. And thank you, by the way, for inviting me onto your show.
No, I'm glad you did, man. I've been wanting to get you for a minute.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really, really love you and appreciate it. But the difference between New Yorkers and other parts of the country is that, like, we grew up on top of each other.
Literally.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I grew up in the LES, and you know, like I grew up with a lot of Chinese kids, obviously mostly Latino, Puerto Rican, Black, and a lot of Italians. And there were invisible lines everywhere, and we all had our little beefs and shit. You know, I was an island boy and whatever, hustling, doing my thing. But because we were forced to grow up on top of each other, we had different smells in the hallways with different foods. And you dated homeboy's sister, who is like, you know, Colombian and Venezuelan. Yeah. And you was like a Chinese nigga who went to Sewell Park.
Yeah.
And yo, she felt you, and like, you know what I mean? Like, this is something that is distinctly New York and Chicago. Yeah. Because there's no room. So we built up. Yep. Instead of building out like LA, for instance. Yeah, no, facts. You know what I mean? Not to take any shine from LA. I don't mean that in a bad way.
It's just what it is. Yeah, we went up. We didn't have room in New York City.
We were forced to assimilate. Yes. We were forced to assimilate. And there was a lot of beef. Yeah. As you know. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Niggas started acting a fool. Yeah. But the great thing about growing up here, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything else, is that this enabled me to have the ability to assimilate amongst different ethnicities, cultures, you know, lifestyles. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, God rest Rabies. You know, I used to work with him at the Paramount. Yeah. During the drag queen shows. Yeah. And when I came across Houston Street, that was considered uptown for me. Yeah, yeah. You know, going up above Houston. And you know, when I met like Rabies and John and all these people, I was like, wow, this is some really cool shit, you know, like, and all the other niggas from the project, oh, you going to hang out with those white boys. I'm like, you know what? You're saying that and you're limiting yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And thank God, like I said earlier, I had a father, which most of us weren't lucky enough to have. I was very blessed to have a father and a mother. Yep. And that stayed together through thick and thin. And I learned that acceptance, especially on my father's side, because my mother's side was more like the hood shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where my father's side was more the creative. Yeah. You know, and you know, after I came home from being a guest in New York State, you know, when I was young, I was able to tap back into my creativity. And my father, God rest his soul, has everything to do with that.
Well, yeah, but that, you know, obviously, you know, you brought flavor to the game.
Thank you.
Where, because that was the one thing you stuck out, obviously, because, you know, as much as you may love the Bad Brains, you didn't sound like him. You know what I mean? But people would say, oh, HR got like soul or whatever. They, you know, yeah, he's yelling in a wild way, but absolutely, you were singing more, and you could tell, oh, this motherfucker sings. Like, you know, this guy, you could tell, you know, even what you were doing was that. But where the fuck the punk, the hardcore, how did that hit your world? I mean, because, you know, especially coming in the city. I mean, obviously you were in downtown, it was right near you. But what was your first interaction with it where then you say, you know, let me peep more of this shit? Because for me, it was my brother, rest in peace. He put me on. So I was always around it. It was always in the next room. I always heard some wild shit. While I was listening to hip hop, I always heard that other shit bumping in the next room. Absolutely.
So, well, that comes with what we talked about earlier, being exposed to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was, I started listening to Black Sabbath and Kiss.
Sabbath,
you know what I mean?
That's the Kings.
You know, I heard fucking, you know, fucking that was like the first mosh part, dude.
Oh hell yeah!
And that shit blew my fucking head off.
I'm gonna bite that shit on the next record. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so my mother had 2 children because she was younger than my father. Mm-hmm. A lot younger, like 30 some odd years.
Yeah, you're telling me, yeah.
And so she had 2 boys prior, and they were like, Latin Jewish kids that grew up in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother big up Scott Schaefer. He's my brother, love him to death. They were more exposed to the rock thing on the West Coast in Arizona. You know what I mean? And when my brother got out of the service, and he did some time, in the service, he came and lived with us, and he like introduced me to like classic rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kiss. I remember going to Bleecker Bob's Records when I was like fucking 12 years old with my brother.
That's dope.
And I used to work at Bleecker Bob's in the back at Rocket Rags with Russ with all the t-shirts.
Yeah,
that was like my first like punk rock job.
Oh, good at that classic.
And I picked up Rock and Roll Over with, like they had the little cartoons of, it was like all of them.
Yeah.
Like, and it had Kiss in each corner.
Yeah.
And I heard the song Meet You in the Ladies' Room. Meet you in the ladies' room. I'll meet you, greet you in the ladies. That shit was so fly to me. I was like, oh shit. It was hard. And you had like, Peter Criss with the drum show. Do. Me. And that shit changed me. That was the first exposure I had to like rock music.
Yeah, rock, yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because before that it was all like Latin, jazz, and disco growing up in the project. And I love disco. Like I'm a huge fan of all that classic funk and disco stuff. That's what I spin when I DJ.
Yeah.
But my cousin on my father's side, John, gave me the Raw cassette. And he's like, check this out. Now, he lived in Cleveland.
Oh, there you go. Oh.
Like when my father had migrated to Cleveland. Like I told you earlier.
Cleveland has some roots with that music.
Dude, obviously, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean,
I never thought about it because of that,
bands.
but it's a fact with the hardcore shit, with the old players, the old down south
soul music.
So all everything. That shit in the we forget. Yo, shout out to Cleveland out there.
Shout out to Cleveland.
Yo, Lamarco, what's up? Yeah, of course,
shout
Detroit.
Out to Detroit. Shout out to the Midwest, because a lot of people don't give the love. Like there's a lot of great music came out of the Midwest. So he gave me the Bad Brains team. I had no idea these cats were black. You know what I mean? So me being like in an identity crisis, I had a big red afro. On my mother's side of the family, they would call me Cocolo, like a derogatory, because I had, big raffle and black
people
features.
don't know if for people that don't know what that is, that was a slang word. How you say a bad slang word you would call for a black,
Yeah, it was a derogatory word.
There you go. That's the word I can't pronounce. The derogatory, that word.
and then my
and that's a word that if you notice though, I don't know, even for Latins, I think that shit started even getting, not that they ain't racist people no more, but that word I haven't heard in many years, but I remember that shit. Like we know that New York shit, like Ezek will bring it up, and we'll know those words, but average people are like Coco Frio. I'm like no, Cocolos, and don't say that.
That's fresh, man. So I started fucking with my cousin John and some mutual friends in the LES that were into punk rock as well. And like all the niggas from the Allen Boys and like niggas I used to hustle with when I got older. Oh, you going uptown to hang out with the white boys.
Yeah.
So I actually made it. I mentioned this on Sid's show. I actually made it somehow. I made it into, Niagara.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
I made it into a show where the Bad Brains were playing. And Big Charlie was there. Ray B.
Rest in peace,
God rest both of them.
Both of them, man. Yep.
You know what I mean? And I was on some metal shit. Like I had bought like this. I had heard Show No Mercy
Yeah.
like Slayer, and I was like, this is fucking fresh. I was like, this is so dope. You know, and I bought this big ass leather shit. And I stuck nails through it, and I was on some fucking real shit.
Yeah, yeah.
I had like a big fro fucking mohawk.
A frohawk.
A frohawk. Absolute, indeed. And you know, and I got into the club. I'm like 12 years old, you know, and I always looked older. You know, I always like hung out with older cats, and I always had like an older persona. And I got in somehow, and Ray and Charlie were like, yo, you can't dance with that shit on your fucking arms. You're gonna hurt somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, God rest his soul, Todd was there. Obviously, Harley. You know, me and Harley went to junior high school together. You know what I mean? And his mom's his aunt was still playing in the stimulators, you know what I'm saying? And he was doing his thing. And
yeah.
And they made me take off that shit. And then fucking Charlie grabbed me by the back of my fucking neck like this, and by the
there you
hold
go.
on.
No, but you're on. I hear you.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second.
I
pulled it out by the back of my my shirt and my pant loop, and threw me in the mosh pit, and was like, yo,
okay, now you're
do your
good.
thing. Now you're good.
And then that was it. You were home.
That was it. It was a wrap.
And
it was a fucking wrap.
And that's how it is. You go to that one, you either come back for everyone or you never come back. That's how it works.
Exactly. And I felt like such a beautiful, like, camaraderie, you know, and more importantly, like, I felt like I belonged somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't feel like I belonged in the projects, even though I did. But like I said, I came up between like art and the hood.
Yeah.
So like I felt like this was like a combination of both. I started going to save the robots into the world.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
We ended up at all those fucking places.
Hanging out with all the drag queens and the punk rockers and
that downtown scene.
After hours. Howie Pyro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Big up Howie Pyro. I love you.
Yeah.
Feel better, brethren. And like, you know, started hanging out with all these dudes, and I realized, wow, these motherfuckers don't care from whatever I am.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just gonna, you know, as long as I don't act like an ass, I can chill. And you know me, I don't flow that way. That's not my style.
Yeah.
I try to just walk amongst the tribes, if you will. You know what I mean?
Of course.
That's the way I do things. You know what I mean?
I know, but I remember a young, crazy, a wild version of Jimmy Williams.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you a quick memory that I remember.
No, tell me. I'm interested. I want to hear the story.
And this is why I love it. What I loved about it is, for anybody who don't remember, I don't know if it was a cover, but it was one of the Maximum Penalty design. It was either on your demo or on the T-shirt. You had a guy with a certain kind of firearm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if I recall correctly, it was a Tech 9. Yes. You know, and one time I remember being in 78th Street Park. I was 15 or one of those times, and
when I used to come out and chill with you.
Yeah, and this one day you guys came, you stopped by with Scotty, and it was just
Scotty,
you, Scotty. You guys were shout out, and you guys were actually maybe going somewhere. You weren't hanging out. You came by like, hey, what up? But you guys, I think, were taking care of some. But I never forget this. I was like, yo, what? And as you were walking away, you were like, yeah. And then you pulled out the Tech, and you were like, bap. And I was like, oh shit, all right, they're gonna get paid. But then I remember many years later, I would see the design, and I was like, yeah, he really had the Tech. You know, on the design, I was like, but I always remember that. And I was like, yeah, but I was like, young, crazy days, you know, and I was like, but that was a
oh my God. Dude.
And why I remember that, because that was one of the few also I got memories of a kid, but being in that park, and just one of those days I just remember like you coming by.
I remember going out and hanging out with you guys, like God rest his soul, Beach.
Yeah.
You know, Army Joe.
Everybody.
Chris.
Everybody.
You know, yo, check this. I was just thinking about this because when you told me we were gonna do this interview, I started like going through my hard drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember hanging out in the park with y'all, and it was Beach, a certain other person that doesn't deserve to get shine
Yeah.
on this, other cats.
Yep.
And it was Bundy, it was you, it was Gilles, it was a lot of other motherfuckers hanging out. And this is when the crew first started, when the family first started. And y'all had these dope ass collegiate sweaters.
Yeah.
That had the DMS logo on the back with the puffy letters that kind of look like carpet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the little carpet.
Yeah.
I remember those, and they were, and I loved going out and hanging out with y'all and Scott, and me and Scott were very close. Like we had this like thing, and my father, God rest his soul, Scott lived with me for 2 years, and my father took him in as his own, and Scott also had a huge influence on. We used to listen to like bands like, as a matter of fact, we listened to a band called Life Sentence.
Of course, I remember them.
From Northern California.
Yeah.
And I had been playing Sarcasm at the time, which was my first band.
That's what I was about to ask. Your first hardcore band was you playing drums.
Correct. Sarcasm. Yes.
All right.
And everybody's like, yo, you should be singing in a band. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I had like singing when I was younger and doing like certain little things that I wasn't into. My mom used to make me do these stupid like off-Broadway things and stuff because she was like a wannabe stage mother, you know what I mean?
But she was trying to get
She was just trying to get me my fucking flowers, you know what I mean?
Wherever. Throw them out there.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and she just wanted me off the street. You know what I mean? She wanted me off the street, and as all of our mothers did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
So, I started hanging out with Scott, and we were listening to the Life Sentence demo, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna form a band, dude, like with me singing. And Scott's like, word? I'm like, yeah, dude, we're gonna do this. And I called on Brian Gosher, the original guitar player, MP, and then Joe Affey. Big up Joe Affey. I love him. Joe. That's my partner in crime. Like, that's my brethren.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, what am I gonna call the fucking band? Then I was like, well, if you got convicted in a court, the life sentence would be maximum penalty.
Oh, that's funny. The life sentence.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I can. And I probably must have been smoking some diesel at the time or whatever.
Well, it was the diesel, and that's the jazz in your DNA.
Word.
That was some jazz shit right there.
Word. And I was like, that's what I'm calling the band. And Mildred, the little Colombian black chick that played bass for us.
So she lived in my Colombia. Projects. Get out of here. I didn't know that she was part Colombian. I didn't know what she was.
She's full Colombian. She's black Colombian.
Get out. That's
Afro-Colombian.
I like it even more now. That's even harder. Mildred
is
dope.
Probably one of the dopest musicians I've ever played with. Not formally trained at all. But she was a huge fan of Steve Harris. And I don't know if a lot of people didn't know, but if you look at old Maximum Penalty videos, she played with 2 fingers, dude.
Oh, she was a 2-finger player.
She was like this on some Steve Harris shit. That was her thing, dude. Like, and she was tight. The bass was damn near as big as she was. She was like 4'11".
Yeah.
100 pounds.
And I've always, like I told you, I've always heard, in hardcore, there was always in punk, there was always girl players and bass players a lot of times and whatever. That was the first girl I've ever seen play, at a hardcore band like that. I remember walking in while you guys were playing. I was like, oh shit. And I never forget, she had a hat flipped up, kind of suicide. And then she was playing. I remember just being like, oh, and they got a girl go, yo, this shit is crazy. Like, what else? What's next? What's the next band gonna be? Like a fucking, you know what I mean? A bunch of cone heads and whatever. Cause I was like, yo, I'm seeing everything, like skinhead, punk rockers. There's a girl, there's this dude, he looked Puerto Rican. I don't know. There's this guy, he looks like he's German. I'm like, that's what I loved about it.
That's still what I love about it. You know, when we were kids, it was sort of like, like when we were all trying to, like in the early 90s when all of us were getting signed by major labels, and things were starting to pop, and everybody was starting to make a little paper, a little cheddar. You know what I mean? We, a lot of the record labels didn't know how to market Maximum Penalty.
Yeah.
Because we had this like influence of like, a lot of hip hop, a lot of soul music. And like you said, we had like our own little thing, our own little groove.
Yeah.
And like the record labels would be like, well, what are you? Are you hip hop? Are you punk rock? Are you metal? I'm like, we're New York.
Yeah.
And they didn't even get it. Like Walter Yetnikoff, is big guy, he just actually passed away recently, like a couple of weeks ago. He signed us to Velvel Records, and he had no idea how to market us.
Yeah.
With the Super Life record. And we had to like sort of spoon feed him like what we, we had went out with a huge tour with Roger and Agnostic Front and the US Bombs. And
yep.
It was hard back then to like get like sort of an understanding on how your label was going to market you.
Yeah.
It's a little easier now because now you see like Missy with a Motorhead t-shirt on.
Yeah. Now it's different. Now I don't count.
It's a
whole
different.
It's a different game. And
I don't want to hate. Listen, I'm not trying to hate on anything.
It's just what it is. We're reporting the layout of the land. There's a difference of saying something and another thing on hating. People get that twisted,
Indeed.
And we're involved. I could say that because also I see what's going on. I'm involved. I look at the layout, and that's how it works. It's not, my opinion is just what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely what it is. I had a great time, man, and my experience in those days molded me to the individual that I am now. And even though we all made mistakes and things have gone through, my past, what's good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's made me the man that I am now. And I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it at all.
Yeah, no, hell yeah. And then, but Maximum Penalty starting, when you say you're gonna start the band, how long was the that, like, all right, I know you guys were doing records all the time, but I mean, what was the first stretch before a break or before, you guys took because you guys were hitting the road, like you were out back then, you were out for a minute, and then you sat back for a minute. How long was that first stretch before you guys took a hiatus or whatever that word is?
Hiatus, yeah. It's funny. The thing that Maximum Penalty, unfortunately, never was consistent with putting out consistent records in a timely manner.
Yeah.
We did a demo. We started in 1986.
86.
I was 16 years old, and 16 or 17. It doesn't matter. 16 years old, and it was Phil Bloom, myself, Brian Gosha, Mildred Martinez, and this kid Chris, and we went into Roxy. I don't know if you remember the Roxy, the recording studio in Long Island City.
Yeah, I remember Roxy.
Underneath the LIE.
I remember that.
And John from Bleecker Bob's, because I was working in the back at Rocket Rags, he's like, yo, I got this spot in Queens, and we gonna go record you on 2-inch. So we did the demo. It really didn't, like, the songs we weren't there, like, song-wise yet. You know, we had some decent fun little punk rock shit, but I wanted it to be a little bit more, what's the word? I guess I would use the word political or conscious.
Yeah.
Conscious.
Got you.
You know what I mean? And because also that's the time of conscious hip hop. Like, what I'm saying, a lot of cats started talking about like politics and stuff, and
start to educate a little bit more.
KRS-One and PE and a lot of those dudes, and so I was listening to all that music, and I knew about conscious punk rock, you know what I'm saying, and like Flux of Pink Indians and Discharge and like real conscious punk and hardcore. So I wanted to incorporate that into a New York thing.
Yeah.
So we played. Chris and Phil split. They started playing like more like rock and roll, like, you know, Led Zeppelin style kind of blues shit.
Yeah.
And they were progressing as musicians. And I was like, that's cool. Do your thing. I'm not gonna hate. God bless. Godspeed. You know. So then that's when Joe came in. And once I met Joe Affy, everything changed.
Yeah.
Like we were just like, yo, we're gonna rip this shit.
So when because you know when I saw you guys, it had to be around because I didn't start going to shows till around 88. So was Affy playing already then? Because I might have seen you with Affy if he was playing with Mildred. Because I would remember. All right, so that was like literally it had
that
to
was
be,
the functional maximum penalty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the one that was okay. They play because that was what literally maybe. That was when one of my first 3 shows was you guys on one of those bills. That's why I remember it.
Brother.
Like,
Blessings.
yeah.
Thank you.
And fucking,
Thank you so much.
and then, okay, because, all right. So then it had to be, then I could trace, because I know your roots is also, you got a lot of older roots. Like we were saying, you ended, you know, even the style of New York was the more traditional punk hardcore was that era. Maximum Penalty was not that. Maximum Penalty was more what I do now. You know, it was like I tell you, it had swag. It wasn't just the punk rock, you know, the AF fast, which I love, of course. But
of course.
It was more what later on is the hardcore that I got into was the, you know, from the breakdowns, the Maximum Penalties, you know, the Sigmados, the Rest in Pieces, the Raw Deal, the Leeway. Like that's my era. And that was where there was
me too, baby.
That was like, okay, you got the old shit, we get it, and we respect and we love it. But now we want some swag a little bit. You know, the hat before was just back. Now we put it up and we tilt it a little. Now maybe camouflage, but now there's the jersey a little bit. Okay.
Word.
You know? And that's what you guys had, like, you know, those parts, that New York shit. And that's why I was like, where did they come from? Because I knew your DNA was also an older DNA. And I said, okay, now I'm seeing it with Affy. It had to be Affy coming a lot with those.
Dude, Affy was so influential in the writing of Demo 89. So we had Brian Gosher, Mildred Martinez, Mark Labetti. From the Bronx, you know, and all the schizoid motherfuckers and a lot of the Bronx cats, you know what I mean? We had incorporated Mark Labetti, and Mark was like this kind of, you know, he grew up in like the Northeast Bronx, which was kind of like Puerto Rican, Italian, and Albanian.
Yeah, I know. I have people up there. The Albanians.
You know about the Albanian shit, nigga. You grew up in Jackson Heights.
You know that my brother.
Motherfuckers out there. You know
I'm honorary Albanian, basically. Put it like that. Rest in peace to my brother Double O. You know what's up, yo, Beck, my godson.
Word, man. God.
Yeah.
Rest his soul.
Yeah, but him. No, but definitely, I know the area. Yeah.
So we started fucking with Mark, and Mark had like a really kind of different thing in his drumming. It was funky, but it was also very staccato. I can't really explain it.
Yeah.
But if I were to categorize the style of Maximum Penalty, and I said this in previous interviews, it's like hanging out on the stoop in a building in the LES.
Yeah.
You know, and you got your 40, you smoking a blunt, you know what I'm saying? Maybe smoke some dust. You know what I mean?
Very common back then.
Word.
Crazy Eddie.
Crazy. Oh, forget it. I can tell you stories about that. But go uptown, come back down, do your thing. And we would just put in cassettes, you know, and it was all street music. It was aggressive.
Yeah.
Whether it was hip hop or like
attitude,
it
everything
was ethnic, everything had an attitude.
Yeah.
Like we used to listen to, like, I don't know if you remember, the Edie Chacon used to have this song about how she used to shake her ass
I remember
and
that
put it
shit.
in niggas' faces.
Hold on, let me school motherfuckers too. Edie Chacon. This was forget this Kim Kardashian bitch with a fake ass.
Word.
Edie Chacon wrote the book on culos in the Latin.
Absolutely.
And not only that, you got to look her up. She's an icon, and she had a sister, Lourdes
Lourdes
Come on, listen.
Just as hot as she was.
Yeah, she was amazing. This was like Latin Farrah Fawcett's and you know, I don't know what to call them, like Liz
you
Taylor.
hit it on the head, Latin Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah, for like that style. These were like, but they were like famous.
And the thing is that like, here's the thing, right? Like, people don't realize that Latin women or Latin culture in general is very sexual.
Yeah.
But it's not coming from a creepy place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I would get, my aunts would be like, you know, let me see your little thing. You know, they slap me on the ass. Because they were trying to build me up as a man.
Yes, it's different.
You know what I'm saying? It's
know.
different. It wasn't like creepy.
No,
you know,
no,
so
no.
Edie Chacon put out this song about putting her ass to niggas' faces. And like that with PE and fucking the Bad Brains and Slayer and Iron Maiden and Judas and fucking Venom.
Yeah.
And Destruction and like just hanging out.
Yeah.
And listening to all this music, it all influenced us.
Yeah.
So we when we went to the studio, it just happened.
Yeah.
It just is what it was, you know, like motherfuckers just took from what we listened to, from being together on top of each other, and that's how we came up with our style.
And then before, so when you were doing that run, because I know that you guys would do these tours later on, like the AF tours, and I remember, you know, tours scattered. But did you get to do any early touring back then? Because touring was a little bit even harder back then, because a lot of bands
were a lot harder.
You know, they weren't even really touring fully. They'll do like a Cali run. That's why you always hear certain bands talk about specific tours, because that was like they only did a handful, because there was only a handful to do. And that was when MAD was starting to get their props. Yes.
So they couldn't give like the guarantees and that they normally, you know, and things started crossing over, and a lot of the European kids started to dig on the New York swag.
Yeah.
You know, I don't gotta tell you. You know, you were part of the whole fucking makeup.
Yeah.
Well, for us, so we did the demo 89. I was playing in Nausea at the time.
So that's what I want to say. So how that happened? Because I wanted to hit that before we went. So how did you end up in Nausea? It was during Maximum Penalty?
Yes.
Because I seen you with fucking Nausea.
Both. I was playing in both bands at the time.
Because I just remember it happening. Even if I don't remember specifically, I know when it happened. So okay, so it was during the both going on.
I had auditions for Nausea. I had actually, the way I told you earlier, the way I came above Houston, and one of the first people I met was Tommy Rat.
Shout out to Tommy Rat.
Tommy Rat, shout out. That motherfucker is been around forever.
Ever.
And anybody in New York, punk rock, hardcore, in New York music in general, that knows the scene of New York hard music. If you don't know Tommy Rat, you better do the fucking knowledge.
You better do it. You better.
You know what I mean?
He's not a guy who's out there having to say who he is or whatever. The guy's been around forever.
And he's the most humble, beautiful guy.
Yes, that's what I mean. And when Stigma will tell you, you better know who Tommy Rat is. And if Stigma knows it, so. You know what
I mean? So I met Tommy. I started actually playing in a band with Tommy called Trip 6.
You were in Trip 6.
Yeah.
I remember Trip 6. I didn't know
I was in Trip 6 for like 2 months.
Oh, okay. I
remember
like Trip 6.
And that's when I started discovering like a lot of the cats above Houston. And that's when I met Ralphie Boy and John Jesse and Neil Roberts and Amy. And Amy at the time was married to Roger. Well, they weren't, they were together. Roger and Amy were together.
Punk rock bonded.
Yep. Punk rock bonded. That's a good way of putting it. I like that. And so I had Tommy's like, yo, dude, Stu was the guitar player Trip. And things were kind of weird. He was in a precarious place in his life. excuse me. And so he's like, yo, Nausea's looking for a drummer. And I'm like, really? I'm like, what happened with Pablo? And they're like, Pablo's sick and he's not well. And, you know, they look for a drummer. I was like, I'm down. So I don't know if you remember Giant Studios on 14th Street.
Of course, I rehearsed the
and
Giant.
I walk up the fucking flights of stairs because the elevator never fucking worked.
When you hit a cymbal, the head of the guitar amp falls down. Like you turn the light switch on, the fucking cymbals collapse. Yeah, I do remember Giant.
A mess, a fucking mess.
Classic spot though. Everybody rehearsed. It was like, you could get a room for $6 an hour. It was like a $4 room, an $8 room. I remember it was like so
fucking duct tape on the fucking, you know, on the fucking snare drum heads and on the bass drum heads. It was horrible, but it was cool.
It was dope.
You know, you smoke your trees. Nobody ever you come up there and have a party in the fucking rehearsal room. And I think, what was the name of the cat that owned? It doesn't matter. Yeah. He was cool. Yeah, and they had like 30 rooms and they were all fucking a mess. Yeah. Anyway, I had auditioned for Nausea and, you know, Neil was like, wow, this kid can really play some drums. And I got the gig immediately. They were like, yo, you want in? I'm like, hell yeah. So I started playing with them. And I told them, I'm like, listen, I have a band that I sing in called MP, Maximum Penalty. And, you know, we just getting our shine now. We're starting to get our flowers. And, you know, I don't want to conflict any, you know, things. And it worked out for about a year. Like, you know, we would do MP gigs and then I would do Nausea gigs and I was able to navigate the two. But at a certain point, it wasn't working anymore. And I had to make the decision. Yeah. You know, and that's when Roy had come in.
Shout out to Roy.
Shout out to Roy. He is a phenomenal drummer. Killer. You know,
one of my favorites.
Unbelievable drummer. Like super talented.
Ridiculous.
And he had come in and taken my place. Neil had left the band as well. Because Neil was really on some like living the Nausea shit.
Yeah, living the
shit. You know, like he went out and like bought a piece of land in Oregon, started a commune.
Gosh, he did the whole
like
thing.
He was in it. Like, and I started to dig the politics of it. Like, I'm still a vegetarian. I don't preach to anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm against the meat industrial complex. That's all I'm gonna say. Right. But Neil was about living it for real.
Yeah.
And he bounced and went out to fucking, and at the time, Nick from YDL, shout out Nick Flores, and Neil Roberts and Amy, we were all kind of working to save the robots.
That's a crazy combo alone right there. Amy, Nick, you imagine that? That's like a Salvador.
And Tommy.
That's a Salvador Dali picture right there.
Absolutely. And Tommy was living there. Tommy was like, you know, chilling. Tommy was in his Rasta phase, and he was smoking trees, and he was hanging out with Jerry Williams. And you know, who better to hang out with and learn about, like, you know, Rasta culture and punk rock culture than Jerry Williams, God rest his soul. You know what I mean? So we were all kind of hanging out and working to save the robots. And you know, and we had recorded, me and Joe had went to Sync the Pink Studios in Brooklyn. Josh from Typo Negative had a studio called Sync the Pink.
Also, Josh did. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Josh recorded Demo 89.
I know he's been involved with a lot of shit, man. A lot of shit.
Like, a lot of people sleep on it.
Yeah. Like, I know he was doing this stuff because he got the play when Typo blew up, but he did a lot of stuff. I'm learning even now, like, man, he did a lot of shit for a lot of people.
He recorded a lot of bands at their early stages. Yeah. Absolutely. He used to have this crazy ass, he even recorded Nausea as well, but he had a control room upstairs. It was like 2 flights up. And he used to keep this pit bull behind the fucking gate that used to hang out in his living room. And you would have to go through the kitchen to go down to the live room where the drums were. And the dog would only be like, flipping the fuck out. And then you have to go upstairs to the fucking, you know, he had an 8-track fucking TSR8 Tascam machine with an old fucking Yamaha board and like some Alesis Echoes and some old school fucking Fostec shit.
Yeah.
And he made great records. So we had done, we had done the demo, and I had presented it to Amy, and Amy listened to it. She was like, wow, I didn't know you could sing like this. I was like, yeah, well, I'm just doing what I do. This is what we are. Roger got a hold of it. And I want to say, honestly, I love you, Roger. Roger is the reason, Roger and Jimmy are the reasons why Maximum Penalty got our flowers, because they put us on some really great bills with them.
Yeah.
And I am the type of individual, regardless of there's one person or 1 million people, I'm going to give it, I'm going to leave that stage soaking wet.
Yeah.
You might not dig what I did.
Yeah. But
it might not be your flavor. But I'm going to leave my soul on that stage. And everybody in Maximum Penalty has always had that ethic. Even in modern days with Busky and Ray Fonseca, and the Life and Time record, we give it everything. You know what I mean? And that and when Roger had put us on and we had opened up for AF, it was a big show. I think it was like a big CB show. It was like AF, Maximum Penalty. I think the Chrome Suckers were on it, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a huge show. Connie, you remember Connie?
Of course, Connie, yeah.
Big up Connie and Camilla, her daughter.
Yeah, Connie was the one that ended up booking my first band with Demise. She was the one that gave us a chance.
That's what happened with us. She had booked Sarcasm. And then I said Sarcasm was done, but I have this new band and Maximum Penalty. And that was our first show there. But the real show was with AF. Because I had given the tape to Amy. Amy had been like, yo, let me hit it off Roger. And I was like, well, when I see him, I'll give it to him. She's like, no, I'll take it home. Yeah. Amy used to work the coat check. At Save the Robots. Before you went downstairs with remember the sawdust on the floors?
Yeah, I remember that.
And you had 3 drinks you could get. You could get Jack and Coke, Bacardi and Coke, and a screwdriver. And they were like $10. You know what I'm saying? It was after hours.
Crazy.
And crazy times. So I gave it, and Roger's like, yo, you guys are dope. And Roger and Jimmy put us on our first big shows exposed to, a lot of people. Yeah. And people were digging it. I mean, we were trying to bring something different, but like, we weren't cocky about it. It wasn't something that we what's the word? It wasn't our modus operandi. Like we weren't trying to be different.
Yeah, you're just what you were doing.
It was just, we were going to go up there and leave our shit. We're going to give it everything to you. And if you dug it, you dug it. If you didn't, you didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how.
And that's how you got to do everything in life. It's literally that. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely, man.
And when did Darren come in? And how did Darren, for everybody out there that don't know, Darren, who played with us during the Hold It Down record, we had got Darren because he was playing with Maximum Penalty. So we already, again.
Big up Darren Morgan.
Yeah. And shout out to Darren. And one of the reasons was, again, we knew there was a certain type of flavor, a certain style that would make sense for what we do. Because we had a lot of different drummers try out, metal guys, guys that were prodigies, we had guys with stories, a lot of stories. But it had to be the certain mix and a certain flavors again.
Yeah, it had to have that bounce.
Yeah, the bounce, and also know where we come from, but what we're trying to go and where we at. There's a lot that comes with, how it is. There's a psychology that comes with who you want to make noise with. You know what I mean? When you do it so
and
long.
It's sometimes more important, and it's sometimes more important to get along with a motherfucker than his talent. And
Absolutely.
Sometimes you deal with talent, but you want to punch the dude in the face.
Yes.
And that's when shit becomes.
Listen, this is hardcore.
Really,
this is hardcore
crazy
shit. At the end of the day, just play with balls.
Word.
If you're gonna play it, look, I play 2 strings. I'm proud to say I've been saying this for years. I'm working on my 10th album. This is why I say it cocky. Not even on some cocky
boy,
shit.
you rock.
But what I'm trying to say is like, but what I do is I play 2 string with balls. And everybody out there, girls, no offense, if you don't got balls, I do it with my ovaries or whatever you want to say. My point is, when you do shit with your soul in it, people are gonna get it. I never had one person tell me, "Yo, you don't play enough strings. Yo, you're not doing this." They either like what I do or they don't.
Or they don't.
And my point is, I took what I could work with and I own it. And I tell people, always remember that. It don't matter. You just own what you do. Even if somebody thinks, even if it's smashing plates on the floor, own it. And when you own it, it's gonna be flyer. You're gonna add style to it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Boy, you know as well as I do. You know, the days of people actually watching a performance from an artist,
yeah,
because of their chops, like Yngwie Malmsteen,
yeah,
any of the greatest players in the world. That shit don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers want to hear a beat, a sing-along hook.
Yeah.
They want to be involved.
Exactly.
And that's what modern music, and I'm not only talking about hardcore, I'm talking about
everything.
hip-hop, I'm talking about country, I'm talking about pop music, I'm talking about electro, I'm talking about music in general. It's about the feeling it gives you.
Yeah.
No one cares about your skills.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Unfortunately, and that's what it is. And how I met Darren was we had played Mark Labetti. Things just got real twisted. And, Mark had split from the band. And this is when I had come back. So I had left, I went away as a guest in New York State.
Yeah. Vacation.
I had come back, a vacation. I went to college, as they say. And, I came back and I ran into Joe on Avenue A, and he was playing in Lament at the time, his other group. And it's like, yo, what's your number? And, I had just gotten a cell phone, and this is like the first like cell phones you could afford. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, hit me up on this. And yo, I can't talk for too long, nigga. She's like 50 cents a minute. You know what I mean? Like, he had called me, and I was living with my ex-wife at the time up in the Bronx. And we had started playing again, and Mark had come back. And then, I don't know, something wasn't there. It just, I don't know what to say, like it just had lost. Yeah. The feeling with Mark Labetti had lost. It just, I feel like he just wasn't into playing drums anymore. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, Mark. You know what I'm saying? I love you. Big up Mark Labetti. So we played this gig up at this spot. I think it was called The Chance. Was it in Westchester?
No, well, there's a Chance up in Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
Yeah. Shout out to the Chance. Yeah.
Poughkeepsie. Yeah. What is that? Westchester, Poughkeepsie? Yeah.
No. Well, Poughkeepsie, New York, upstate. But there might be a chance. There's always a chance somewhere. But that was the Chance that I know.
I feel like it was the Chance up in upstate New York.
Yeah.
Actually, I know it was because Darren grew up in Connecticut, like upstate New York area where they kind of like both meet.
Got you.
And he was with Joe and Ray, and then he was in a band called Sealed with a Fist.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was wondering. I never asked Darren. Yeah, or if I did, I didn't even remember that. Sealed with a Fist. So I gotta get him with that.
He was in a band called Sealed with a Fist, and they had opened up for us. And it was a dope show. It was like one of the last shows that Mark had played. And by this time, Mildred had left the group because Mildred went on to become a psychiatrist.
Wow, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Figure.
People do that. I mean, look at Amy. Amy's a freaking doctor.
I know, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and
look at me, I'm a swimsuit model now.
You are. You son of a bitch. You lost great weight, by the way.
Thank you.
Congratulations, bro. You look wonderful.
Thank you. I'm getting banana hammock ready. Hammock weather ready.
What did you do? Did you just diet or did you what happened?
I just watch what I eat and I fucking do mad push-ups and anything I could do.
Count your calories, baby. That's how I did it.
That's how I do exactly. I'm a
Me
calorie
and you
counting
were both fat boys.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were both fat boys.
I still am. I tell people
I feel like I'm still a fat boy too.
Yeah,
Word.
I still am. I'm just, not as fat, I guess.
Right,
you know?
right. You have the mentality of a fat boy, but like you're like, oh shit, I can wear a size 34 now.
Yeah, I know, and it's funny.
Oh, damn.
And it's funny you say that because for the first time in my life, because I'm not the first time in my life, but in a long time, I was like, they sent me shout out to Carhartt. They hooked me up with some stuff, and my boy sent me. He goes, "What size of pants you wearing?" I go, since I dropped weight, I go, "Yo, I really don't know." Because I rock like workout pants or whatever, shorts.
Right, like right.
He just sent me on a whim, 34s, 36, and they fit. And I go, "Yo, I must have been like,
fresh, dude.
I was probably 19 when I was fucking."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I haven't fit in a 34. I wear 34, 33s now, and that's been. I did it. I just counted calories 1,500. Anyway, I want to get back to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't want to cut it off. So, Darren was playing with Seal with a Fist, and Darren is a Mackie fanatic.
Yeah.
Like Darren learned how to play drums along with Age of Quarrel. Yeah. And I'm not talking about Age of Quarrel, the record. I'm talking about the fucking demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he just fucking killed that shit.
Yeah,
he had that fast foot and that pocket. And, he was a Mackie, Mackie fanatic. And he even set up like Mackie, which a lot of drummers in our scene were obviously big up Mac. He's, he's the god drummer of the hardcore scene, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, yo, dude, we need a drummer. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude. He's like, I got your demo. He's like, you asking me to play drums? I'm like, yeah, bro, we need a drummer. And he came on, and that's when, shortly before that, Mildred had left. We had started playing with Mark Sisto.
Yep.
Who played with Breakdown.
Yep.
And a bunch of the Westchester cats, and that was the rest of it is what happened. We had done some records. We did the East Side Story record was done with Mark Labetti, but Darren toured that record. Yeah,
okay. Oh, sorry, that's what it was. He toured that record.
And then the rest of the records, with the exception of actually, the rest of the records, there is no exception. The rest of Maximum Penalty records are Darren Morgenthaler. Oh. Now, the thing with Darren is a very orchestrated cat. He, like Eric Arce, is more of like the type of drummer that will play like a general groove, and then he'll add a little jazz to it. Like he'll flare it up a little something different.
He's more freestyle.
Right. Darren plays the same thing all the time, and he plays it well.
Yeah.
It's like reading charts with Darren.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's reading a chart. Literally. It's mechanical, and it's fucking in there, and it's in the pocket, and it's fucking slamming, and it never changes. That's not a bad thing in the type of music we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with a drummer.
Yeah, that's more our style drummer than the looser. Like what Eric is the same way how H2O as a band, they need that like swingy. It could be more wild drumming because the songs are more rockish. When Mad Boy's a lot more machine. You know what I mean? As far as we're attacked. We're constantly attacking even on a groove. It's everybody together and we stick like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
it's like fucking. It's tight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what had happened with MP. We had started to become this sort of, I don't want to say mechanical, but we had learned to have our groove within a structure.
Yeah.
That was like consistent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and that's thanks to Darren Morgenthaler. That's thanks to, listen, it's far, and he's my boy, and maybe I'm being biased, but Like I think of Down Pickers, you know, as far as guitar players are concerned, and I think of AJ Navarro, Doyle, and Joe Affey.
Yeah,
like
no, definitely good.
That down picking,
yeah.
Like that down pick, that straight.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of niggas that really know how to do that shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like MP was blessed to have Joe and to have Darren, and we had formed this like sort of thing, and the rest is history. You know
and then the last version of it with Busky, right? That was
yes,
right. And that was which squad? That was you, Busky. Who else was in that?
It's me, Busky, Ray Fonseca.
Ray, yeah, I forgot. Yep, I remember. I'm trying to remember the picture.
It was Darren, but then Darren bounced to Florida.
Yeah,
and Eric had joined.
Oh,
Eric
okay.
Garcia had joined.
Gotcha. Okay.
And for a brief moment, we had this cat, Andy Elder, who's a really great drummer. He actually played the Doc benefit with us.
Oh, okay.
Phenomenal drummer, great drummer. And you know, going back to what you said earlier, the problem with MP is that we could never, because of, you know, other people having real jobs. You know, Busky works for, he's a graphic artist, and Ray does the same type of thing. He's an artist. Joe works for the city. He works for sanitation. Me, I own the recording studio, and I'm working the bars and doing what I do and producing and doing everything. We never really put enough consistent music out.
Yeah.
And that's been MP's downfall. I think like if we had been more consistent, like you guys put out a record, at least once a year.
You know, definitely, you know, definitely the it ain't a secret, but definitely a must is in this shit is you got to constantly put something to let, because there's somebody new coming out, and you got to constantly let people know you're in there. You're still a contender. You know what I mean?
And that was sort of I'm moistening my lips a little bit. That was sort of you know, the downfall with MP, but you know, Joe had some knee surgery done recently, and we gonna put out another EP. It might take a few minutes.
That's what I was just about to ask. What's the plan now? What's maximum penalty 2020? Well, what are we? 2021, right? I don't even know what year it is. 2021. So the plan is still to do something, right? Something
Absolutely,
new.
Man. Absolutely. We're gonna. You know what, man?
Like, why not? It's like, why wouldn't you?
MP is in our DNA, man. Yeah. Like me and Joe. We've been swimming upstream our whole fucking careers in maximum penalty. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to put myself on a cross or any of that shit, you know?
I know you mean. I know you mean.
A lot of people, you know, it's kind of hard when you're coming from a different style for people to sort of like accept what you're doing. Yeah. And we have a lot of respect with our peers, like such as yourself, Lucola, and that's all I care about. Like to me, it's like I want to do it for the kids too, obviously. But when like Hoya Rock calls me and say, "Yo, Jimbo, I want to do an interview with you," that's more important to me. And I might come off, that might sound like dickish.
No, but I know what you mean. Because also being a band, people got to understand this. When you're a band that, especially an original sounding band, or there's something that, you know, it's not, it's a plus being original, but not everybody accepts it the same way as, Absolutely. It's like the rest of these guys. Yeah, that's what we love about it, but it's not, everybody is spoon fed. When you got something different, you got to do the spoon feeding, and sometimes it takes longer, or people just don't get it. Look at, as long as I'm, you know, as good as Madball is, and that as we are, that we have done in this music game for a long time too, people were like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Like, "Oh, you not didn't even care what we sounded like." They're like, "Oh, that's Baby AF. Oh, you're Roger's little brother's band." Yo, we had that for the first bunch of years. Niggas didn't even care what we played. That. And that was like a thing. And we were like, we don't even sound like AF. We're like, yeah, we had dudes, but like then, you know, we started with our own shit. And then we were like, again, what we did is when we started coming out with the Set It Off, that was like mine and Freddie's shit that that thing. I'm like, this is us.
Great,
We don't care if you like it
great.
or not. This is definitely us. So we're
This
gonna
is
rock
us.
it, and we played it with balls. And
Absolutely.
and people
Absolutely.
understood it. They got it. So it worked out for us. But
the thing, not to cut you off, but
No.
the thing that you guys have done is you've consistently made records.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've consistently have been blessed enough to have the right people behind you, the right labels behind you, and a scene that rallies. Yeah. And not to say that people don't rally behind Maximum Penalty. I don't mean that in a malicious.
No, I know you.
But
mean.
you guys have always been consistent.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been a downfall for us. Like we haven't been consistent.
Yeah.
But I do feel like our last record, Life and Times, because a lot of our peers have said it to us. We worked with some great producers, Dan Corneff, and we recorded, most of the record at Night Owl in my studio. And I feel like that record came together in a way that no other MP record came together because we didn't overthink it, number one. We just fucking cranked it out, even though it took a while to do it, but that was more like schedule shit. And to have guys like Lou Cola and Craig Satari and Roger Moret and all of our peers say, yo, this is like the best record you guys have done 30 years into your fucking career, to me is like the affirmation that I need.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound like a big shot when I say that. I swear to you, I'm coming humbly.
No, I know you mean. And you know what I like what you guys did. And I don't know, it's luck and also you're good picking. And it's also luck. You got different dudes to recreate. It sounds like you guys like something, it doesn't sound like, oh, it's a dope record, but it's some new style of this. No, it sounds like where you got a Maximum Penalty. Then because the dudes, again, that you had playing where where you guys came from. So that's a big play again, and that doesn't always happen. You could have put out another good record. You could have put out a great record that was like, a great record, a Maximum Penalty record. Yeah, it doesn't sound like the old stuff. This one sounded like your other shit, and it didn't sound outdated, and it sounded like you guys. That's hard to do with getting new people in the band. That's something that's very hard to do.
It's very hard, and we've been blessed to be around great people and great musicians that not only are talented within their instruments and within their minds and thinking outside of the box and trying to come with, but not like thinking outside of the box to where it becomes like math rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of like having, like understanding our swag.
Yeah.
MP has a certain swag, and we've been blessed to find those type of cats.
Yeah.
And through rehearsing and through personalities and the one thing also that I'm very proud to say about MP is that I don't think anybody can really ever say that like we fucked anybody over. Like,
we're
not that bad.
Not at all. Never were. Nah,
you know
never.
what I mean? We weren't that group that tried to fucking, you know what I mean? It's just us. We just do what we do.
You know what I used to always say Maximum Penalty was? I said, they're the perfect band you put to stack on the bill. Like when you make an all-star bill, I was like, it would be, Outburst, Maximum Penalty, Sick of It All, rest in pieces. Whatever, Maximum Penalty, Cro-Mags. It was always, like, as I was saying, like, you were always that band that I was like, oh, they're the next one coming up. And then it just stood there, or you guys would put out records or whatever or not. But I was always like, oh, you're the perfect band to stack the bills. That one co-headline. I don't even know what you would call it, but I was like, it was perfect to round off the bills. You know what I mean?
Thank you, brother.
Like the Outbursts and those type of bands that people
Absolutely.
I was like, they were like, yeah, Maximum Penalty headline. Yeah, Outburst can headline. But then when you guys, I think your best shits was like when they put you on with the Sick of It All, they put you on with the Rest in Pieces. I think you guys killed it even more. It would be like, what I mean?
That's our era, dude.
Yeah.
Those are our people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, going back to it, like me and Joe.
Yeah.
And or not only me and Joe, me and the members of Maximum Penalty, whether it's Mark Sisto, Busky, Brian Gosha, or fucking Ray Fonseca, we've always had this sort of ability to like understand that we are going to leave our fucking blood, sweat, and tears on that stage.
Yeah.
Period. I learned that from Jerry Only when we went out with the Misfits during the American Psycho, when Michael Graves was singing for them. And we had the pleasure of going out with them in the US Bombs. And that was like a big American tour for us.
Yeah.
And then like we did one with AF too. And it was crazy. Jerry was like, for the first like couple of weeks, the first couple of days, he's like, wow, this band's really not like the kind of band that would open up for the Misfits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were on Gypsy Records at the time, and we had tour support. You know, Billy Milano was our manager.
He was ours too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out
Big
to
up
Billy Milano.
Milano.
Listen, he's fucking hiding, and I want that motherfucker on the Smokin' Word. Yo, we love you, Billy, even though I hated you when I was a kid. I always tell him that. I go, I hated you. And he goes, why?
Misunderstood.
He is. I love him to death. He's the guy I hate. I told him just like this. And to this day, he tells me, I go, I hated you. And he goes, why? I go, because I felt like I had to. And then I was forced to be in a room with him when he managed us, and I fell in love with him. You know, it was fucking crazy.
Billy's that dude, man. Like,
he is.
And he's, you know, the funny thing about Billy is a lot of people don't realize that Billy's a very intelligent dude.
Yes.
He's a very smart cat. And
he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He's a wonderful guy. And he comes off a bit abrasive.
Yeah.
And he's a New Yorker. He's a Jersey, New Yorker dude. Like,
he's a meathead. He's a meathead.
Like, we have that.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I say, you know, I've been around him enough, and coming from a guy, I'm telling you, I went in to like mad dogging them. They were like, yo, he wants to manage with Roger. And I'm like, fuck that dude. You know, and I was like mad dogging him. And I'm in the room with him during a meeting. I left that. I wanted to hate him. I was like,
yeah,
oh,
you wanted to, but you wanted to kiss him at the same time.
At the end of the day, I left and he became I'm hunting him to be on my fucking show. I'm like, yeah, so shout out to Billy fucking Milano.
Shout out to Billy Milano. I love him to death. So Billy was managing us, and we had went out, and you know how it's like. Madball has been at that place where you had to like, you know, take your tour support and help pay for a tour bus.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff. You know, you get a little bit of money from Roadrunner or whatever label you're on, and you know, you got your little $200 that you're sending home to wifey. A fucking, if it's $200.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And like you know, you're living off the hospitality and eating pizza, and you're lucky to even be on a bus. You know what I mean? So Billy had hooked us up with this situation. And Jerry had like taken a liking to me. And he was the one who got me to study with Don Lawrence, the vocal teacher. For those of you who don't know who Don Lawrence is, like, you know, everybody, Evan from Biohazard, Dee Snider, fucking Jerry Only, Lady Gaga, the list goes on. He's the biggest and greatest vocal coach in America, as far as I'm concerned. Especially it's him and Alyssa something on the West Coast.
Yeah. Melissa Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she's a good girl.
She's on the West Coast. And Don had taught me, you know, like Jerry was like, yo, listen, you're getting hoarse. When we get back off this run, you're coming back out with us to Europe. So go see Don and learn how to control like your screaming. You know, I had always sung when I was a kid, but I had never like really, I wasn't singing 6 days a week.
Yeah.
In a hardcore band.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
and
I
through
needed to learn.
through systems that most likely don't work either.
That suck.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the most important part to remember.
Word. And I had learned to control my voice and learned to control my shit. And through inertia with dealing with these cats, there was a certain amount of respect that we had gained from our peers. And to the point where like, Jerry's like there's this guy Dylan. Oh God, I can't remember his last name for the life of me. Amazing sound guy, and he would do our sound for us for free because he liked the band so much.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, I want to hook you guys up. He's like, you can't be fucking with these whack ass sound men. He's like, I'm like, well, Dylan, we can't pay you. He's like, nah, it's my pleasure. You know, that was the most humbling experience I ever had on the road when, you know, the Misfit sound man, and mind you, we're opening the show. So we're like the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
You know, unless there was like a local band.
Yep. No.
You know, we were the first band in the package. And for him to show us love like that, to really appreciate where we were coming from as artists, was like sort of a very, what's the word? It gave my self-esteem. I felt like legitimized.
Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, and let me ask you this. Did it ever come to the point with the back? Because I said that you said, I'm just going to stop this with maximum penalty, or you just always left it open knowing, because I know a lot of bands sometimes fuck up by the point of saying, like, we're going to break up. You guys never said you're going to break up and just kind of left the door open, which is the smartest thing to do at the end of the day. But you never planned on stopping it, or just you always.
There's still no plans on stopping.
Yeah, which I know, which is good, but yeah.
Yeah. Like we just. It's like I said earlier, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, we just get together when we feel it and we write.
Yeah, that's dope.
You know, and you know, I wish we would have maybe taken a little bit more seriously when we were younger. Maybe we would have been blessed to make a living off of the music.
Yeah.
But to me, that wasn't the most important thing. Like to me, it was about like working with cats that I love, and that like I don't want to punch you in the face on a fucking 8-hour drive from fucking Franklin, Germany to fucking Belgium.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Frankfurt, Germany to Belgium or whatever. You know what I mean? And like enjoy being in a bus with the nigga, listening to fucking Eric B and Rakim, and like we made a great 5 records or 5 songs or whatever. It wasn't like I didn't take it as seriously in terms of like a business. To me, it was more about creating art and making it special.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying?
No, totally.
And we weren't so concerned. For a minute there, like, well, Could You Love Me? The song Could You Love Me? Like everybody loves that song. It was like our big pop punk kind of thing. And for a minute there, we were really concerned about trying to fit in like to that, like that whole early 90s, mid 90s, like pop punk thing.
I know. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the 311s and, you know, trying to get that little commercial thing going on.
Yeah.
But I didn't like, that didn't concern me. Like I wanted to just make dope records.
Yeah, you know what it was though, because your style of singing was like you could do that. That's why it was like, you know, it
I later learned that from Billy. Actually,
yeah, like you hear it when that's the thing when Max or President, like, oh, this dude should be singing for something else, or he sings with something else. Also, you know, it was like, you know, because everybody else was fucking just barking.
How can you not like Queens?
That's what I'm saying. You especially if you
Queens
like New York hardcore.
Queens is the birthplace of music.
Exactly. Let them know.
Simon and Garfunkel, the fucking Ramones,
every fucking
James Brown,
Louis Armstrong, Northern Boulevard, fucking every fucking horn player. You go Northern Boulevard. Yeah, if you want freaking, we had Malcolm X. We had everybody in Northern Boulevard. You know, you go down, we had everybody up there. Coogee Rap, come on.
Oh, dude. When I fucking heard that shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, my God. That. Dun, 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 dun,
oh, hell yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yeah, that's like, yeah. Let me ask you this.
Coogee Rap. Unbelievable. He lives in Arizona now, right?
I think so. You know what? I heard he was living in Pennsylvania But maybe Arizona, everybody's moving crazy spots.
That dude is so slept on as an MC.
That was the shit. And I grew up in Corona, Queens, and he was the first dude. He was that dude.
And Beat Nuts.
Yeah, that's
super
my brother.
on.
Listen, Juju's my brother.
Good
that's
cat,
my brother.
Man.
Listen, you know what I mean?
Juju's the kind of dude, like, if you dislike him, you're the asshole.
Yeah, let me tell you about Juju, what I mean. Like, that's my brother. Like, the guy who taught Juju to DJ was my best friend's older brother. And when I was 11 years old, I used to make Juju do the run, the fucking. He used to get so annoyed with little kids, but Juju's an ill DJ.
I know he is.
And when we were getting into hardcore early on, he even came with us to check out some studios. He always was one of those guys that loved music and loved that we were doing music. I just, hit him up the other day. That's my brother.
Doing? How's he doing?
Chilling. He's chilling. He's doing his thing.
He's still in Queens, right?
Yeah, and he still does these pop-up shows that pop up and shit.
That's
but like I see
we
that
we DJed together at a party once, actually.
And that's like literally like he knows I'm 11 years old, and Jerry was the one he was showing. He knew how to DJ. He was already, when he got down with Africa and all those dudes, Native Tongues. I remember he did Moni Love's record. He did Chi Ali's record. I was
like,
you made it. I was like, you made it.
That's right.
He goes, like crazy. He goes to me. I never forget. He goes, yo, I got this black kid, this young black kid. He's ill. He's a little kid and he can run. What's his name? His name is Chi Ali. This was before he dropped. And then it was like, I was like, fast forward, he ends up doing all these records and
when I saw the Beat Nuts, it's an unfortunate story how I came across them, but I was in Rikers Island, getting ready to go upstate. And Bobito, who's my homie, Bobito the barber.
Yeah.
Bob grew up in Spanish Harlem, and I have family in El Barrio, and you know what I'm saying?
I grew up, that was my family. I grew up there too. Man.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. That's
we used to live in 98th Street on the east side, but all my family was right up there by there. We used to get cuchi frito and all that shit by the train.
Of course. Once you go over 96th Street,
that was it.
That was all Latin. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I remember Chris, the Bob and Stretch did this show at Columbia on Thursday nights before they got the Hot 97 deal.
I remember.
And they would have these crazy Thursday night shows. And then on the island, right before I went up, you couldn't have a cassette player. All you could have was a little radio with headphones.
Yeah.
Because, the cassettes, you could like make into shanks or whatever, all that bullshit. And I used to listen every Thursday night to fucking Bob's shit.
Yeah.
And Ralph McDaniels.
Yeah, of course.
He had video music box.
That was my shit. That's the Bible.
And I saw Pop the Trunk.
Yeah, that was the first shit.
The black and white video.
Yeah.
Pop the Trunk.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. I was like, nah.
I was like, these motherfuckers are ridiculous.
And I was like, my boys made I know some. They're the first dudes that made it. I was like, they made it. They got a video, They got records. You made it. Like, yo, that's fucking wow. Like, shout out Juju out there.
I kind of shout out, absolutely. Shout out Beat Nuts, shout out Juju. I felt the same way, like you made it when I went to junior high school with Harley and he was playing in the Stimulators. Yeah. I was like, wow, he made it. Like he's playing in a real band. It was inspirational.
Yeah, because you could almost touch it. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Somebody, same thing with me. I was like, yo, this nigga's comes from up the block from me. Yeah, he's older. He's been doing that. And wow. And I'm, he's in the mix. I was like, but let me ask you now, anybody, what you doing now? If anybody wants to check out your studio or you got open studio time, what's the deal? If people want to touch base with Jimmy MP.
You can hit me up on Facebook. JMP Williams. You can hit me up on Instagram, JMP Williams. I'm working on my website right now, and I work with all different types of music. I do a lot of like hardcore and metal shit because I just did the We All Die record, which big up to We All Die, Pugsy.
Dope.
I'm very proud of that record. I think it
shout out to
sounds
Pugs,
like,
you know them. Dope.
oh yeah, Pugsy's awesome, man. Like that whole Lethal Aggression, Jersey
Yeah.
Crew,
Yeah.
Social Decay,
Of course. Boppo, rest in peace. Oh, hell
Boppo,
yeah.
oh
Of
my
course.
God.
My man. Of
I
course.
miss that motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
You know,
hell
that's that my ex-wife, was from that whole scene. You know what I mean?
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and that's, you know, Boppo was like,
Yeah. Hell yeah.
just
Yeah, that was
one of the sweetest people in the world.
Of course, that's why we still talk about him now, because that's the type of dude he was. You know, people, he left the impact, good dude. Hell yeah. I just seen a picture of him recently from a Demise show, because we would always play with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, but
that
shout out to
hell yeah. The day that he passed, I remember I went to his funeral and Saab's funeral.
Oh,
the same day.
I didn't know.
God rest both of their souls.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a hard day for me, man.
Yeah, crazy.
You know what I mean?
But everybody, if they want to check you out, what you up to, that's your Instagrams. What do you got? That's your Facebooks, right? You got the Facebook.
Yeah, JMP Williams, and I also have it's JMP Williams on SoundCloud, JMP Williams on Reverb,
and the studio and Night Owl is still. If they want, if anybody.
Well, here's what it is. Night Owl no longer exists because I got basically forced out.
You were doing shit in the cribs.
I couldn't afford the rent.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean? I sold my AMAC and I work out of my house now. And I've got it's a very, very professional setup for a home studio.
Yeah.
I use a bunch of different live rooms for drums because I can't really do drums here.
Of course.
So I'll go to my homeboy's live room.
That's how you do it now. That's how everybody. That's how you do records now. That's how you could do that now.
I got a little vocal booth. You know, I turned the walk-in closet into a vocal booth. I hooked it up with a little air conditioning, so you know, I piped it so it's not loud and shit. It's not in the mic. And you know, I've got UA converters and you know, a nice strong Mac, and I'm working in Logic, Endor, Pro Tools, and you know, I do mastering. I do mixing, and I'm mostly I'm known as a vocal producer.
Yes,
you know, people come to me that, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I got a good ear for tone.
I definitely would recommend anybody out there, you singers who even thinking about it, call my man right here. Trust me on that one.
Blessings.
And a lot of you motherfuckers need it out there. Don't make me start bringing Ezek on the show to start pointing you motherfuckers out. Because Ezek gonna start pulling cards. But listen, I'm glad I got you on. I'm glad you're doing good. I was glad to see you, and I hope I can see you in New York soon.
Most def. How's the family doing?
Everybody's good, thank God. You know, we strong. You know, thank God we come from a strong DNA. That's what's keeping us strong. And we just, like we say in Spanish, pa'lante. You know, I tell everybody, you know, my family's motto now is pa'lante. We go forward. We go. You know what I mean?
Forward.
And that's what we're doing, forward and strong. So, but listen, I love you. I'm glad I got you again, and I hope to see you. I got your number. I'll be dropping you some shit to talk. And
yes, man.
And this is, I'm gonna let you know, this is either gonna drop tomorrow or as quick as we could turn it around. And then I'll send you the flyers and all that. But listen, Maximum Penalty, Jimmy Williams. Go get down with his get down. I love you, Jimmy.
I love you too, Hoya.
One love. We out.
Peace.
Peace.
Word.